Good afternoon, everyone. This is Brian Doyle from over at VCIO Toolbox, and I appreciate each of you for coming and joining today's open coaching call. As many of you know, or any of you that might be attending for your first time, every Tuesday we do a coaching session where we deep dive into a different segment of VCIO Toolbox and try to cover off on how you can use that and how to use it and kind of leverage it with your customers as well. So today we're going to focus on a little bit different area of VCIO Toolbox, and one that a lot of people are not as familiar with, and that is our business canvas. For those of you that are not familiar with our business canvas tool, it's an account management tool that we provide within VCIO Toolbox, and it really allows you to do a deep dive on your customer and how your customer goes to market and the resources they need to support their business. Now, you may ask, why is a business canvas something of interest to me, and why would I care about doing something like this with my customer, especially since we're doing technical support? Well, a couple different things really come into mind when we talk about the business canvas and its relationship to kind of the VCIO role. One, it allows us to do a deep dive with the customer, really understand how they go to market and what they're trying to address out in the community that they serve. This may sound trivial from a IT support standpoint, but this is really the area where innovation can be driven when we start looking at new projects and services to put into a roadmap. When we understand how a customer is going to market and what is driving their day-to-day operations from a delivery to their customer standpoint, this will uncover areas that might have stress or duress going on today and offer us an opportunity to look at how we can potentially automate or help them better analyze their data in order to better serve the community or constituents that they have as clients. The other reason a business canvas is good is it allows you to peek behind the curtain and get a sense of the operational side of the customer and see where improvements to drive efficiency or better security can be found there as well. Now, where I have found the business canvas to be beneficial with some of the customers that we work with, it is within my ramp camps. I usually get a couple different types of VCIOs that attend these ramp camps. Well, actually, probably three different types. We, of course, get a lot of times the technical founder who has started the company and is kind of handling both sales and operations. In some of our more mature MSPs, we're starting to see the VCIO role fall into a true account manager or a salesperson. And those three people may be proficient or at least have some level of proficiency in holding business discussions and really looking at kind of things like the before and after of a problem from a business perspective and be able to drive solutions that way. But another kind of VCIO I get is that person that has come from your technical team, that real good systems engineer or that real good sales engineer who is now really coming into their own, and we're looking to bring them into a more leadership role. A lot of times when I talk to those people, they tend to be very technical minded, right? So when they're looking at solutions and defining solutions and really working with their customers on solutions, they're always coming at it from a technical angle and thinking about what technology can fit that piece first. Now, at its surface, that's great. But one of the things that sometimes is missing is the bigger picture. You know, it's kind of the old, what's the problem? Okay, here's the solution. Let's go to it kind of mentality. And part of that is just because of their newness into this role. They really haven't had the opportunity to be, you know, in that business side of the equation that often. They haven't had a chance, maybe in often cases, especially when it's the system engineer now coming into a VCIO role, to have sat with customers and heard what their problems are and understand how they operate. So I task a lot of my initial, my new VCIOs that are coming from a technical background to build a business case for one of their, or excuse me, a business canvas for one of their customers. So let's first take a look at what a business canvas is and what all this really means to you. So first thing I want to share with you is how to navigate to that within VCIO Toolbox. So when you come into the application, you can click into your customer. And today the business canvas lives under the, what we call under the more command in our menu, and will show up here. Now, what you're seeing on your page here is an example of a business canvas. Now, a business canvas is a tool that's very common to those folks that have MBAs, that have had experience in marketing, sales, and have worked in the past. But again, when we talk about some of our IT folks, this is kind of a new concept. Now, what you're seeing here on the page is the way the business canvas flows. The centerpiece of it all is the value proposition. And this is really identifying where the customer excels in the marketplace and what value they bring to their customers. Over here on the right-hand side of this table, you're seeing the different things that a customer has to do to go to market, what relationships they need to have, what sales channels they need to implement, what customer segments that they're a part or that they sell to, and how they're going to garner their revenue streams. Over here on the right-hand side, we've got the kind of the part of the equation that really talks to how they operationally run. So we need to know the key activities they deliver, the key resources that they can't live without, what partnerships they need to leverage in order to deliver their services. And of course, every business has its cost structure. These are the fixed and variable costs that they need to operate. Now, we don't expect you to remember all this, so we have defined these areas down below. You'll see here in the value proposition area as an example, we're really looking at the value a customer brings to a company, and we're trying to look at it both in a quantitative approach, thinking about price and efficiency, and a qualitative approach in the overall customer experience and outcome. So what I suggest that we do as an exercise today is I want to build out a business canvas here, and I'm going to use the MSP model as the driver for the business canvas so you can kind of get a feel for how this ties back to your own businesses, and more importantly, how we can analyze any customer using this process. So the first thing I'm going to do is come here into the value proposition area. And I'm going to name a couple different value propositions that we have for a customer or as an MSP. So here's a couple of them. And again, your mileage may vary on this, but it's, I'm going to put in our description here, we serve companies that, are range from 10 to 250 users in the greater any city area, no matter where you are. And we can entitle this one, scope and size. Another thing in VCIO Toolbox, we can give things a little bit of a distinct coloring just to kind of help show them within our review as well. Now I have another value. That value proposition is really talking a little bit more about the qualitative side of things. Now let's talk a little bit about the quantitative side of things. Let's talk a little bit about the qualitative, a little bit about that price point that we acknowledge down below. So here I'm going to talk about our customer and really their cost structure. So as MSPs, one of the things that we deliver to our customers as part of our value proposition is outsourced IT value at a Main Street cost. So we can entitle this one cost containment. So what we're really doing here is kind of defining how we go to market with our customers. And let me make that a little bit easier color to see behind. We'll keep it in the orange family here. And now we've got our value proposition defined here. We have determined that as VCI or as MSPs that we work with customers 10 to 250 in this greater any city area. And what we're trying to drive to the customer is an outsourced IT value at a Main Street cost for their businesses. Now what I'd like us to think about, and I'm going to dive over a couple levels, is customer segment. Now down here, you'll see some of our customer segments, and we may get a little bit more defined than this as well. But you'll see things like, do we cater to a mass market? Do we cater to a specific niche vertical within that market? When we talk about segmented companies, these could be customer segmentation by different things. You see gender, age, income. I would even go so far as saying for those of us in the MSP space, it becomes that ABC rating that we sometimes give to our small, medium, and large contracts. Diversify really gets into verticals. When I talk to a lot of MSPs, I'll say to them, well, are you guys more vertical by nature or more general by nature when I'm doing, my sales calls? And what I'll often find out is most of them are general by nature, but they might have a couple key verticals that they have, some level of critical mass to, and that would be kind of a diversified solution. And then you got the, the multi-sided platform where you're working with both with the market and the consumers. So here in the world of an MSP, when I really want to look at defining my customer segments, I think the way we should be looking at it is, we've got our, as we just talked about, the segment size, small, medium, and large. So here, if we look at it, here we're really defining what the sizing of that market is. So I'm going to call this just market size for my labeling here. And then another thing that, for this particular MSP, we're going to talk a little bit about the verticals they hit. So when we talk about how they diversify themselves as part of the business canvas, they have a couple of key verticals that they're hitting as well. So I think you can look into your own businesses and say to yourself, okay, I agree with, some of that sizing that we've got there, but, we've got some key verticals too. And this is a place where we gain some traction. Now, the next thing I want to go into is the customer relationships. And if we look down here again at the definitions that we have down below, these relationships come in a variety of different manners as defined by the business canvas. It can be personal assistance in the form of an employee to customer interaction, right? So this is, how we engage with our customers. And is it a personal interaction, or is it more of a generic interaction that's done through advertising and marketing, as an example? Dedicated personal assistance is when we're actually assigning specific resources to those customers and those special sets of clients. Self-service is probably more what you're accustomed to within the SaaS world, where you can look at a SaaS product, potentially test out that software in a trial or watch a demo, and then ultimately sign up for it yourself. Automated services are very similar to self-service, but it brings a level of personalization in and make sure that there's kind of a way to stay engaged. You'll see here as the example we have how Amazon.com will make suggestions to what books you might want after you buy a selection of books. Communities are really about creating community and allowing different interaction through different clients of the company. And I think more and more we're seeing community-based company growth being something that has grown quite enormously, especially since social media has come on the scene. And then the final thing is co-creation, where sometimes products and services are coming in together based on customers' direct input from those customers, leaning on the final outcome. So when I look at the customer relationships models for our particular business canvas for an MSP, two things spring to mind for me. First and foremost, we are definitely a community-based selling system, right? We lean out into an ecosystem of partners and learners and influencers. And of course, our customers can be part of our community and drive results as well. And when we think about most of our marketing inside of the MSP space, it's very thought leadership based, right? So we're really trying to bring people into our community and help them understand by learning what the advantages are of working with an MSP. Now, another thing I would say about us is we definitely fall into the personal assistance column as well. As a service provider, we are really building a service engine that allows almost any employee within the organization to engage with our customer via our service desks or our knowledge bases. So we do some direct one-to-one support, both in a named fashion or anonymously. Now, for those of you that are starting to do your key account alignment, you might even put direct personal or dedicated personal assistant as one of your options here, because you may be also saying to yourself, hey, we're starting to align teams or pods in our service desk to really support our customers. So now we're starting to really build a complexion of our MSP. The last couple of things that I want to add in here are sales channels. I'm going to make this a single box here. And some of the ways that we derive and acquire business is through direct sales, through partner selling, and through affiliations. We might be involved with a accounting group or a healthcare group that helps drive some customers into our funnel. So when I look at sales channels here, I just want to kind of look at a couple different things here. I'm sure many of you will hit me with other sales channels that you may have within your businesses as well. But for the purposes of this discussion, I'm just going to outline those three. And then the last thing I want to close off is with how an MSP derives revenue to kind of showcase how we can look at a company's revenue models. So when I come down here into revenue streams, most MSPs have some common revenue streams here. So if I call this generate income for the purposes of our discussion, I keep defaulting to this gray. I apologize for that, folks. Put this into light blue. And you'll see here that, most MSPs, we have our recurring revenue sources, whether it be managed services or security services. We often sell professional services, hardware and software. So these are the ways that we actually derive an income to our companies. So, with that being said, you guys can tell me, certainly I'd love to see something in the chat if you feel differently or aren't understanding here, but this is really how and we can look at an MSP and say, based on their value proposition, these are the steps they're going to have to take to get out to the market. They're going to have to identify those customer segments and know who their buyer personas are. They're going to have to establish those customer relationships and have to have a couple of ways that they're looking to engage their customers as part of their sales process. They need to know exactly how they're going to go to market and what channels they're going to leverage through that. And of course, most importantly, how am I going to generate that income back? So now let's look to the other side of the equation and start looking at how we build the engine to support that as an MSP, right? If I look first at key activities, and you'll see the example that we have down here at the bottom, it's really what are the important activities that we have to do in order to drive the value proposition. Well, if we were Big Pen, we wouldn't have to have an efficient supply chain that drives down costs so we can continue to sell our pens at a good price. When I look at some of the things that we have to do from a MSP side, and excuse any of my spelling during this because I am not the best speller. We all know that we talk about process, and systems all the time. So some of what we need to do is implement efficient systems and process to support probably three key areas within our system: help desk, sales and marketing, and our implementation services. So these are some key activities that every MSP must execute on in order to deliver the services that we're outlining on the right-hand side of this business canvas. And to get that done, we have to have some key resources. So again, looking at our legend down here at the bottom, you'll notice that key resources are what are needed to create value for the company. These are the assets that we have, and they can be human, financial, physical, or intellectual. So when I think of the key resources that an MSP requires in order to deliver their services, it really spans almost all those genres. We have to have an efficient service delivery process. Our team has to have, and we can label this as team, strong IT proficiency. We have to have good key gap partnerships. What I mean by that is, if we don't have the ability to build our SOC ourselves, we have to have some sort of SOC partner. Maybe we're using an outsourced help desk, but we need to lean on those resources that we can buy by the drink as an MSP to deliver to our customers to solve any of the gaps we have. So these all put together efficient process and systems we can deliver to the customer. And you see very quickly how these two items and why they're grouped in a box go kind of hand in hand. If we don't have those things working in concert and working very closely, we're not really going to arrive at the results we need on the other side. Now, over here in key partnerships, this is really looking at anybody that we do business with in order to deliver our services. These could be partnerships like our software partnerships, right? If you're a BCIO Toolbox or a ConnectWise customer, we're part of your partner chain and provide those goods and services to support you. It can be suppliers, your Ingram Micros, your tech datas that are really bringing you those capabilities as well. It could be your peer groups, right? These are the people that are key to you and helping you stay on track and make sure you've got some accountability coming in there while sharing information. So these are the key resources that help you deliver your process. So, I'm going to again outline these folks. We'll highlight them in blue over here. And you see that this works. And one thing I want you to bear in mind, because we're going to talk a little bit later how this can also feed your referral funnel in the big scheme of things. These partnerships tend to be local with a lot of the local businesses we serve. These vendors, suppliers, peer groups are in the community and are other opportunities that we can leverage to engage our customer on referrals. Final thing down here is your cost structure. And if you looked at our definition, it really talks about those fixed costs and those variable costs that exist within a business. So when I look at, a cost structure for an MSP, and this is by no means all of them, we look at things like vendors, fixed costs, rent and payroll, vendor subscriptions, taxes, marketing. In our case, we could probably even say education, because we need to keep our team on top of things. And these really dictate the kind of things that we need to take into consideration when we're building our pricing and when we're looking at our revenue streams on the other side. So now that we've got this process kind of built out here and we built our model, we can really understand an MSP if we didn't know what one was at a higher level. Hey, MSP's values to the community is that they can provide outsourced IT value at a Main Street cost and fill the gap for those customers that are 10 to 250 people who may not employ those people there. They cater to a customer segment. They contain small, mid-size, and large customers. And in this particular case, this MSP is really focusing on some healthcare and vertical and manufacturing clients. Our relationships are built on communities. We want to engage our customers and our suppliers to be part of our ecosystem and help us deliver these services and the knowledge we transfer to our customers. And from a day-to-day perspective, we're providing direct one-to-one support to our end user customers through the form of the IT support services we deliver and the help desks we operate. We go to market by doing direct sales, building affiliations that can get us in front of people, and maybe even partnering with other companies that do serve very similar communities with different product sets. And ultimately, this allows us to earn our income, which is built through managed recurring models and more standard project models. And then to deliver this, we need our help desk skills, our marketing skills, our efficient service delivery mapping, building those service delivery teams to optimize things as we go. And they have to be proficient teams with good IT understanding. We're going to leverage those resources, those vendors that help us automate and deliver in the form of our software relationships, and those peer groups that help us stay on track if we subscribe there. And ultimately, we have our cost to operate. This gives us a pretty clear picture of what an MSP looks like. I'd love to get your guys' opinion on whether or not you feel there's more we should be looking at here. And do you understand now, by doing kind of an MSP, which we're all near and dear to, how you can do the same exercise for your local supermarket as an example, and really understand the value proposition that supermarket has, serving the nutritional needs of the community within a 2-mile radius. The relationships they build will be direct, community-based, of course, and, maybe they're building a little bit more mass market over there. Their customer segments definitely tend to be, the residents of that community. Their sales channels are obviously direct selling through their supermarkets, but heavy marketing and heavy community presence. Supermarkets are a great example of people you always see donating and doing, kind of civic-minded events for the communities they serve. So you can see very quickly how you translate it, and on the activity side for a supermarket, you're looking at making sure that you've got a defined way of keeping that produce up to date and making sure that none of their products are perishables that are past their due dates. Key resources are the teams and the processes that support doing that. And their partnerships are a lot of the local growers and the main, dry goods chains, right? So you can see how you can really apply these business canvases here. Now, to close out our session today, I really want you to focus on the partnership and customer segment sides, because when you build these business canvases, you're opening up a huge referral resource to yourself too. As you build these market sizes, I'll challenge you to go even deeper on the customer segment and try to identify some of your customers' key clients that they deal with, they work with. Over on the partnership side, you really want to understand who are their partners, and think of your lawyers, accountants, your small supermarkets they are engaging in most cases with partnerships that are local to them as well. And as you understand who these partnerships and customer segments are, now you can open up a door in a referral conversation with your customer that doesn't sound like this. Hey, Mr. Customer, do you agree we've been doing a pretty good job for you for a while now? Oh, yeah, you guys are the best. Thanks for doing that. Hey, do you know anybody else that might benefit from services like ours that you do business with today? The big challenge when you ask for a referral that way is it forces the customer to think, and it forces the customer to take some of the action steps that need to be done. But imagine if you can really key in through doing this exercise and identify who those partnerships are. And I'm going to go back here to the MSP and assume they're working with VCIO Toolbox and be able to say to that customer, hey, I see you've been working VCIO Toolbox is one of your key partners. I've placed a few calls and emails into that Brian Doyle guy, and I haven't been able to get a response from him. Would you be willing, Mr. Customer, to maybe make a mutual introduction for us? Most customers we deal with, especially if they're happy in our relationship, are willing to make those referrals for us. They just want to be guided to it, and they don't want to have to think about who they need to go to and take that task. They want to be directed to somebody and tell us whether or not they know them, and be able to then make that introduction. So this is where I leverage personally these customer segments and partnerships to be able to expand my relationships. An example of partnership for me is we've been doing some work with some of the key players over in, IT Nation Evolve. And as I've gotten to know some of the facilitators, and as I've looked at some of my customers that participate in those peer groups, they've become incredible lead sources for VCIO Toolbox, and doing it in a way that I can say to them, hey, Joe, I've been helping you for a while. You've shared with me that you're having good feedback here within VCIO Toolbox. You're making additional sales you weren't expecting to make, at least as quickly, as a result of our roadmap process. Do you think the folks within your peer group would benefit from this? Are there any key players that are similar in size and scope to you in your peer group that, maybe I should be reaching out and talking to? And would you be willing to make that introduction? That's a very soft sell to your customer to get those leads, and usually they're happy to help you. So that's kind of an overview, folks, about the business canvas today, how you can utilize it, how you can leverage it to really draw out a big picture, at least for your key clients, those top to 20% that you do a lot of work with and can potentially leverage in a little bit different fashion. Again, when you come into this business canvas, everything you need to refresh your memory on how to build this out is listed here, and you can even click to a link here, which will bring you to some further reading on the business canvas model over in Wikipedia. Again, navigating to the business canvas is not difficult. If you go into your customer and head into an IT review, you will see the business canvas listed under the More button. And a little bit later this month, you will be seeing the new key account management module coming out, and the business canvas will be prominently displayed over there, so you can really get to it easily when you're looking at your customer records. So with that said, I'm going to open up the floor now for an Ask Me Anything session. Again, as we do each week, Q&A and Ask Me Anything can be about anything that you want to discuss. Does not have to be strictly about the business canvas here. So if you have any questions on anything you're doing within VCIO Toolbox, please share that with me. You can place those questions into either the Q&A area or the chat area, and we'll be happy to respond to those right now for you. Otherwise, if you don't have any issues today, or you want to take something offline privately with me, you can hit me directly on my email at bdoyle@VCIO Toolbox. While I'm waiting to see if anybody wants to apply any questions or answers, I want to thank all of you for joining us again this week for our open coaching session. I know today was a little bit different style coaching session, a little bit more about theory, a little bit less about, standard QBRs or IT assessments. But as we continue to evolve VCIO Toolbox, we really see it as an account management and advisory platform. We actually renamed the platform itself as OnPoint, the OnPoint advisory platform, because we want to stay on point with our customers. And, I certainly want to stay on point with you. So any questions, concerns, thoughts, feedback, we want to hear it, good or bad. We're always happy to fix things where they may be ugly. Well, with that said, I appreciate all of you guys listening to me ramble for the last half hour. This video will get posted up to YouTube if you want to look back at it. It'll also get posted within our university. And I really appreciate everybody for joining us once again today. And with that, I will give you the rest of your day back. Thank you all. Appreciate you attending.